Well, hello. We are SwagVintageAZ, back from a little vacation and a break from making videos and being on social media and whatnot. But if you want to check us out, we are on Etsy.com for our online sales. And we post a lot on Instagram with new listings to advertise what's available. And if you're in the Phoenix area, we're at the Brass Armadillo Antique Mall, which is located at the I-17 and Cactus Road. We are booth P2 in the Parlor, which is like a side gallery from the main mall. Okay, enough of all that. Let's get to it. This was a thrifting stop that I made while my daughter was at a lesson. And here I am picking up, maybe that's like a little charger for a candle. This was a nice clear vase that I figured would be great for my propagation area next to my kitchen sink, which I've shown you in other videos. And as I'm looking in the hard goods, taking a survey here, this was a strange little piece that looks home painted. A lot of signs, some wreaths, and I'm not really attracted to much here. Something sparkly to look at, but that was a cheap new piece. And moving right along, I spy this little wood box, which I really just loved the grain on this, the angles. After I opened it up, the piece on the inside has the bottom is covered in like linoleum. So I've already used this in some of my staging photos as just like a backdrop item. Then here we have some signed pieces that were vintage, but not really the stuff that I sell. They look like hobbyist pieces. What is that, the blue boy? I don't know what the little girl is. Nice pieces maybe for another vintage seller, but not quite my style. Then here I found some chili peppers on a string, which is like a classic Southwest Arizona piece. Didn't really feel like that would sell or was remarkable in any way. Here's a really beautiful kind of seasonal Christmas tidbit tray, but for $12.50, and with the bulk of it, and with Christmas really being over, I left that one behind. So I am a sucker for a trivet. This one I just thought was so mid-century with Niagara Falls, with everybody going to Niagara Falls for their honeymoons in the 50s. So I grabbed that. It's already available in the booth, and I probably paid too much for it because I don't, maybe I put a price tag of $6 on it at the booth, but I liked it, so that's part of the fun, right? This was a really nice piece. However, at the price, I didn't think I could get much more for it for resale, so I left that behind. Into the glassware, nothing really jumping out at me yet. I did like this stemware. I just thought it was pretty, but $2.50, clear glass. Sounded like it was crystal. I let it go. And martini glasses. I have much slower camera movement for this video. I was very intentional about that, but I find I'm struggling for words. So I don't know, guys. I may go back to some quicker camera work just for the sake of narration. Here into the mugs, I found this little Hawaii mug, which I just thought was super cute and looked late 80s, early 90s, like very kind of Golden Girls style. So I went ahead and picked that one up, and it is in the booth. And usually my prices for a mug is like $6.50. Typically I can grab them for about $1 at Goodwill. So they sell really well. So it's a nice, tiny profit margin for me, but those little sales add up. So here I'm looking in the dishware. I guess I was curious about this one, Folk Craft Hearts. Again, not quite my style. Definitely folksy. Yeah, not much to say here. A little stack of coffee cups. Not for me. and in the dishware. I'm mostly at this point looking for fiesta ware. don't know that I would pick up much of anything else. I have a lot of stoneware for sale, like floral stoneware. This piece, I always look at blue and white pieces because I know that they're popular. We haven't really sold much. This one was $14.50, this platter. And so, of course, I left it behind because I don't even know if they would sell locally. So I might find a smaller piece to experiment with in that style. I liked these. Oh, well, I didn't like those carrots, but I was curious about them nonetheless. Fitz and Floyd, not for me. And then these blue sort of, I mean, what are they? Like little cereal bowls, perhaps? They were cute, a little too, they just didn't have like a really bold color to them. I loved this little lemon napkin holder, but again, $2.50, I don't know, maybe I could get $5 out of it. Now here's the find that I got really excited about. A signed piece from the 90s. It's this salsa jar. It's missing a spoon, but you know, that's an easy workaround. I thought this thing was awesome. I mean, we love salsa. We eat it like every day. And so I thought, oh, great. This is going to be so cool for our house. And I showed my husband and he was like, not into it. So it is now at the booth, available for the salsa lover who belongs to that particular piece of studio pottery. Here looks like a mid-century, late mid-century platter with a little bit of history on it, the story of thread, which looked mildly interesting, but I didn't think it would really sell well, so I put that one back. Moving along, we are finding another piece of studio pottery. This one had some nice colors to it, but it was not signed, and I don't have a lot of luck selling pictures, so I let that one go. And moving into some water bottles, additional just kind of odds and ends, pitchers, and salt and pepper shakers. Now we're looking at the framed art, and just a cursory glance here, I didn't see anything that caught my eye. Again, you know, art takes up a lot of real estate at our booth, and though it does sell, sometimes it's a slower sale. So I'm not really looking for anything, but then of course I found this and had to give it like an honorable mention because this is just a throwback to my 6th grade, 7th grade childhood when those magic eyes were so popular. So here I am, I couldn't resist looking in the Christmas mugs. Once you kind of start looking for Christmas stuff with the season, it's a little tough to just let it go. And I feel like this one was priced pretty high, but I really liked it, the little kitty on it, and it had a very cute kind of 80s, 90s style. It was signed and it had a date on it. So I went ahead and picked it up, and that's in the booth. We have a little Christmas corner in the booth now that we might just keep year round. As they say, Christmas sells all year. Then I really liked this one with the bells. It had some cool colors on it, and it had a brand name on it. No date, however, but I don't know. I just thought it looked very similar to the kind of mugs that my mom had in her cupboard. So I went ahead and grabbed that one as well. And as I'm looking through these, I'm really just looking for something that either looks vintage, has some age on it, has a vintage design, or might have a signature or a date on it. And at the end of the day, it's really just a matter of choosing things that I like. I mean, everything I buy, it is mine until it is purchased again. So I'm responsible for these items, for cleaning them, storing them, trying to find a way to give them a new life. And so I figure I'm going to spend a lot of time with these things, and I better like them, or at least have some kind of appreciation for it. So this piece looked to be vintage just based on its sticker. However, sadly it had some chips, so I just couldn't justify picking that one up, but I think it would have been a nice little something for the booth. Here's another ceramic piece. It had a chip on the top and looked relatively new. Also, I didn't quite like the design, so I moved on from that one. And just scanning this shelf and not seeing much else for the Christmas section, which is probably for the best because the season is over. Spied this little box. I'll usually check out anything that has that sequins, that two-way sequins, which was really popular several years ago for the kids. Here's a curious item. I don't know what I touched. I mean, I don't know what that is. So we left that. And then here we are in kind of like the bathroom goods section. These looked like a nice stone. They're from Home Goods, so I let those pass. Here we are in vases and back to vases. And I saw this postmodern, very classic, scalloped vase look. There are a lot of lamps right now that are in this style. I think with that 80s mauve pink being kind of the winner here. This was a nice piece. However, I don't think it will sell in my local market. I had a Hager vase that kind of had a similar treatment to it. It was in the booth for more than a year, and then finally it got knocked over and broken, so I went ahead and left that one. Here is just an interesting vintage wall shelf, maybe trinkets or keys or that kind of a thing. We'll leave it. Anything gold, I usually take a look, and this is more of a plaster piece, I think. Not one of the coveted Dart or Sirocco that my friend collects. This I thought was cute. Little napkin holder or letter holder that says Dad on it in brass and wood. But just a little banged up, so I let it go. But a nice late 70s, early 80s piece based on the font. I think that's probably when that was made. My favorite shelves, the wood. I am really addicted to wood bowls. I have a ton of them all over my house and in my booth, but none were discovered that day. Now, here was a really cool find. It was a large basket. It was $25, which is kind of a lot. Inside the basket, there was a series of really gorgeous matching placemats in a Southwest woven style. I thought these were really special and really gorgeous. However, there was some damage to the top of the basket, and I couldn't tell if that middle section was speckled or moldy, so I ended up leaving it behind because for $25, just wasn't quite worth it. And here I thought, oh, is that a Longaberger? And it was, and if you saw the price tag there, it was $100. So of course I left that behind, but thought I'd show it anyway. Into the lamps, my favorite section. There was a pretty cool looking UFO lamp back there, but with the silver chrome, I thought I would leave that. And I haven't sold a lamp in a while, so I've got to kind of slow my roll on the whole lamp thing. Then I spotted this one and was really tempted. It has a beautiful scroll handle. It was ceramic, very, very pretty, in kind of a romantic style. I pulled it out. I admired it. It had a nice brass base, definitely either, way vintage or antique. But again, I'm just not selling very many lamps, so I had to leave it behind. This little guy, just an honorable mention. I love this style of lamp with just a hunk of wood and some brass, but I didn't think it would sell, so I left it, but I just wanted to show it off. Nonetheless, it was very cute. And this section above, like the regular table lamps, is one of my favorites to look for. I have found some cool swag lamps. Oh, and here's a Lennox. That's pretty nice. Swag lamps, and one time I found like a wall accordion lamp. So it's a really good section to check out if you are a fellow thrifter / reseller. Now onto the furniture. There were some what looks like TV trays. They didn't seem to be in any kind of mid-century style, so I just passed by them. And if you've been following my channel for a while, you know that I'm not a big furniture person. It's mostly the transportation that gets me down and the storage. So it has to be something pretty spectacular and smaller for me to pick up, like maybe an end table or, you know, a stool is another good example. This one was cute but contemporary, so I left that. And I loved this amazing, beautiful chair. I almost feel like I should have picked it up. It was only $20, and I can't pretend to name the style of this chair, but it looks pretty special. So I'm kind of regretting that I left that one behind. Very, very full furniture section for this trip. And these days I'm actually looking for a tall table because I want to set up like a packaging station in my garage for the business. And so I am seeking something tall. This just looked really pretty, a wood music stand, which I thought was super gorgeous, but no need for it. So I did not pick that up. I'm just checking out any kind of amber colored glass. I'm going to take a closer look. I don't think that one was vintage in any way, and it was really high priced. So of course I left that one behind. And here I got excited because I was like, ooh, hunk of wood. And then I found it to be a marginally inappropriate mask portrait. So I definitely left that one behind. And here I'm looking in the bags. This was a nice coaster set. It had those circles within circles, which is a classic like mid-century modern style. But the blonde wood, and it was missing a couple. I decided to pass on that. Here's what looks to be a nice piece of Pyrex. I'm not a Pyrex person. I just don't pick them up. Although this one was in good shape. It had its lid. The color looked bright. No dishware damage. But I think that's a high price on there, so I left it. And into the clear glass. Typically, I'm just looking for something that I can use for plant propagation. And then I'm into the silver. Nothing super spectacular here. This looks like a cute piece. Looked relatively new and maybe missing like a glass kind of votive holder, incense holder. I loved the shape and the color of this vase. I kind of wish I had just picked it up for home. It's contemporary, but it's just so cool looking. And I wish I had snagged that because it would go really well with my decor at home. But oh well. Looking into some odds and ends. That looked too contemporary, so I left it. And more candle holders. And then I spied this very used wood candle holder. And I just sold two large lots of like really chunky wood candle holders and then some slimmer wood candle holders. So I love picking these little guys up and collecting a huge group that I can sell. So I went ahead and grabbed this one. At $3.50, it's a little bit pricey because I end up really only selling them for like $5 to $8 each is, kind of where it lands usually. But they're good sellers for me, and I just can't resist leaving a good wood candle holder behind. All right. Nothing else is looking super tempting on this aisle. That one was mildly interesting. I touched it a couple times, obviously, but left it behind. I think that if it's kind of that brushed brass look, that reads more contemporary to me, and so I typically don't choose those. And into the Christmas, of course, habits are tough to break. This was a nice set. However, I had a set of Christmas glassware that did not sell for the season. So I passed on those just because I didn't want to be either storing or just holding or returning to the Goodwill holiday glassware. And I love glassware. It's a great seller for me, but it is kind of a stressful item. These were cute little peppermint candles. I did not purchase them. They were kind of banged up and scratched up, but I thought they were adorable nonetheless. For glassware, yeah, it's difficult to transport. It's stressful to pack. You know, I pack my glassware really well, but I have had a couple broken pieces, which I always replace. So even though it's a really great seller for me, it's got to be like good, really tempting and spectacular. Okay, so here's probably the best find of the trip. This is probably the most perfectly made 60s, 70s Afghan I've ever seen. I mean, the colors are just spectacular with that mustard yellow and browns. And here I'm demonstrating that if you're looking for an Afghan, it's always important to give it a sniff. That one smelled really, really dusty. So I am in the process of washing and rewashing and letting it dry in the sun, which is always a great idea here in Arizona for Afghans and tablecloths and other things that you just want to get a nice kind of like sun-drenched drying session on it. And here I'm looking in scarves and hats. Every once in a while I'll find something that catches my eye, though I can't say they're very good sellers. So this one I thought looked kind of like a nice Art Deco shell, but left it behind. Probably should have picked up that pink bandana though. A thrift store is the best place to find bandanas, and I use bandanas constantly. Here in the desert we hike a lot, and so they come in handy quite a bit. That was another pretty one, but nothing to bring home. And now into the purses. I always check for vintage handbags. They look great in the booth and are really fun to sell. I think I just liked the colors on this one. It's newly made. And then this as well, I found intriguing with its kind of woven outside. But nothing really grabbing my attention. The other thing I always look for are tooled leather pieces. I really have only found one while thrifting ever, and it was in terrible condition, so I left that. But always on the lookout for those pieces. Here we are in kitchen goods, in the bags. And here what I'm looking for are really nice cutlery sets. That one definitely had like a mid-century piece. And this one looked like a ceramic piece. Nothing too special, but I once found a French set that sold really well for me, and I have several available in my shop right now. Again, a little bit of a teaser there with some like very cool mid-century looking pieces, but not a full set, so I had to leave that behind. I really love the bag section. That's where you can score some really good deals. And here, I don't know if you were watching one of my previous videos where I looked at a ton of different patterns for sewing, and I was saying, I really just want some nice 70s, you know, like maybe I'd pick some up if there was like some really cool 70s suits and jumpsuits and things. And here they had really great vintage patterns, but the way that they stacked them, it was like one 70s pattern. This one might be my favorite. And then behind it, it was, you know, 80s, 90s quilts, you know, just stuff that wasn't as desirable. So I didn't want to pick up a bag. Maybe if there had been a bag that had 6 or 7 truly vintage patterns, I would have picked that up. But at one at a time for, you know, $3 each, I didn't want to risk it because I don't think I could get much more than $3 per pattern for resale. And here I'm looking again at holiday stuff. Sorry, I know we're all sick of it now, me included. This looked like it might be a good score, but all of these you just have to take a really close look at and check for chips and missing little lights. So that one did have a few missing holes, and so I had to pass on it. And then here is the card shot. After all of that, it wasn't a huge haul, But I think that the big winner there was that Afghan, and I do really love that wood box, and then a few mugs, so not too bad. So thanks for being with me. This is SwagVintageAZ. Until next time, thanks guys.